Welcome to day 6. Yesterday we added some more flight information in our backend, and now today it's time to use that Swagger and OpenAPI information that we have created yesterday and bring that into our Angular project so that we really get the flight information in Angular from ASP, because that's exactly how things are working. Angular is our front end and it gets the data from our REST API backend. So we will install an npm package which is called ng OpenAPI generation, which automatically creates the client-side code which is exactly matching our REST API. Packages we install in .NET are also added to the project file, the file with the C# project extension. And packages we install using npm are added to packages.json under the dependencies section. Packages.json file also has a dev dependencies section which includes the packages that are only required during development. For example, build and test tools. For sure, the dev dependencies should not be deployed to production environment. To build an Angular application for production, you can simply run angular build and then configuration equals to production in the root folder of the client app. npm installs all packages as production dependencies by default. So to install a development dependency, you can call npm install -d and then the package name from the client app folder. So just let me get that clear again. If you install something, a package, which you only need for development, you can install it using the -d flag, which is development package flag. Yesterday, we added the Swashbuckle library to our web API project. The library is capable of generating documentation for API as we have seen. So Swashbuckle library can also reveal the JSON version of the application's REST interface as Swagger JSON file, right? We took a look at that yesterday. The ng OpenAPI library on the other side, which is an npm package we can use for Angular, takes the Swagger JSON file as input, right? So our backend is providing the Swagger JSON of our REST API, and then Angular will download it and use it, right? So it accordingly generates the Angular client API, and the client API is that part that connects to our backend API to ASP. And now you might be wondering, why do we use it like this, right? Do we use a package that automatically generates code for us? Well, in real world scenarios, it is essential to have such a workflow to confirm to have a single source of truth. Otherwise, you have to keep the API between clients and server consistent manually, which is painful and error prone, because every time you change the backend API, you will also have to change the front end API, because if you don't keep them both on the correct version, you will break and you would need to test and fix it manually. So this is why we just simply write down the code in ASP.NET backend API and then use a nice tool which creates some sort of documentation for us about our API. And then we use Angular with that OpenAPI generation, right? So that this Swagger file, this documentation of our API in backend gets consumed and Angular automatically builds up a client API, which is exactly matching our backend API. Now let's jump right into it and get that done today, because this is a very exciting part since we are connecting our front end and our back end both together.